Welcome back to Small Caps, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kerry Stevenson, and Truth Bomb Tony's back, and he's back. Look at that background, ladies. Well, we're both back, and we've both got a little, we've decided to go a little bit upmarket for you. See if you're paying attention. Tony's got a few. I wonder if he's got a couple of piranhas in the tank behind him, because there are a few piranhas out there, or corporate imposters, or whatever we want to say. What an interesting few weeks. Well, I guess I spoke to you a couple of weeks ago, and wow, what a ride it's been, Tony Locantro. How's it in your hood?
Well, I've actually moved out here near the fish tanks. So I'm working from my kitchen, my dining room, my gymnasium. And I said to Juliana, I said, this bear market's just grinding me down now. I need to be out. I need to be in the open. I don't want to be in an office. So we have a lot of banter throughout the day. And yeah, it just works wonders just to get a bit of a different scene rather than the boring old white background. But I'm gonna be straight up, Kerry. I've had a complete gutful of this bear market now. I get the friggin' joke, and the share prices being chronically low. I'm over it. And this might be a little bit controversial, that during the tech bubble, I was sick of the high prices. I was sick of all the bullshit. I was sick of all these companies, mining professionals saying we're going.com. I'm sick of all these acquisitions to get a sugar hit in the share price. A lot of acquisitions now would be like turning up to a piss up at 3 a.m. holding a vegan pizza. So the same old formula that's worked since .com has been working now, but this is going to be a really scary time now, because I think that our small cap sector is going fadless and it's going to get back to fundamentals. But this, it's just been sandpaper to death. In quality, low liquidity stocks can't take anything. They can't get a wave. The cult stocks have held on well because there's lots of volume. But look at the disparity between the gold price and the gold juniors.
Yeah. Good point.
Well, the Australian gold price it hit $3,000 an ounce for the first time ever. The US price, it's back to around the 1970s now. But it just goes to show you, this is a valuable lesson for viewers, that it doesn't matter what the commodity price is doing. If you're in a bear market, if you're hated, share prices can just keep going lower. And unfortunately, I've had to endure this for well over a year now. And I'm not going to go chase all the pretty girls at the bar. I'm sticking to what I do. And hey, God, the spreadsheet damage has been painful, but I'm still around. I'm not, it's, anyway, that's the way it is. And that's what I'm seeing. And I've got the benefit of experience in this sector.
Well, and that's what I was about to say. Look, Tony, ladies and gentlemen, show him some love down below, because he's feeling the pain. But I'm going to flip it, Tony. I'm going to say, out of every crisis, if you want to call it a crisis or a bear market or whatever you want to call it, comes opportunity. But you've got to be smart. And I think it's smart that you moved out from, four-walled office into a more open plan area where you're talking to a few people, because I think mindset and mental health is really important at this time, especially when people are starting to freak out. And I just think, stop freaking out. Good companies will always be good companies. And governments around the world are turning around saying we have to go to zero carbon emission. So the resources sector, in my opinion, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this is not financial advice. Please do your own research and talk to your financial professional. This is just Tony and I having a bit of a yarn like we would at the pub. But he's a little bit far away for me to ask him to come down to the pub. But Tony, I think with governments turning to net zero, I actually think that this is going to be, look, it's a bump in the road at the moment. We've got banks flipping over left, right, and center. Credit Suisse being bought by UBS for $3.25 billion. I mean, that's interesting in itself. But Tony, I think the ultimate aim is governments are hell-bent on getting us to net zero, and they cannot do that without resources. So if you've got good projects, good opportunities, I think that this could be an absolute ball terror for resources. It might not be in 23, but I think it will be in 24.
Oh, certainly. And we've got to remember that most of the copper is 4,000 metres above sea level, and it's less than 1%.
Yep.
So you are going to see probably a lot more M&A. We've had already a bid. Ramilius are trying to take over Breaker, and Wyloo have made a bid for Mincor, even though that's nickel, and that's a Kambalda nickel stock. But I think, look, I've actually been giving it some thought, and let's just go back. It's like when you meet someone for the first time, and there's attraction, and there's dopamine, and there's lots of sex and alcohol, and you're walking on sunshine, and it feels really good. And then suddenly things.
I didn't understand that.
My
That's
Google
the technology
just told me
coming,
she
ladies
doesn't
and gentlemen. They don't understand the word.
understand that. No, she doesn't understand dopamine or that. Sorry, that was my phone's talking to me. Yeah, so you get this massive dopamine rush, and you can't sleep, you can't eat, you're in deep and all that shit. But then once things return back to normal, you think, well, why did I get with that person in the first place? And I think that's what's happening to a lot of stocks. You'll get excited about a stock that might be 2 years away from something. Things flatten out, negativity, sentiment, rock bottom. And then suddenly they say we're a year away, and you think, well, I need a dopamine rush. I need to give up on this company. And that's what I'm seeing at the moment. So anyone that puts out something that means time or negativity gets sold off, more people sell it off, then suddenly, shit, they can't raise money, so it gets sold off again. And it's just this loop of negativity you can't really get over until we start to come off the bottom. But it's one of those unique markets where indices have held up well. A lot of small caps, I call it small cap wasteland at the moment, because a lot of these stocks trading in that 5, 10, 15, 20 million, they look like a wasteland. So now I agree, some of the best buying you'll ever see, but those that understand the stocks are fully invested. And every year we say, I'm going to keep a lot of money on the sidelines for these opportunities. Well, you cannot factor in where we are ever. And what I've been saying to my clients is, once we get one or two stocks that run, we'll start to rotate, and then we'll lift everything else. But at the moment, geez, it's tough to hold everyone together. A lot out there are losing their collective heads. I just say to clients, look, stay cool. These are the fundamentals. I do hold emergency Zoom events for clients. I did one on Sunday night, and I just ran through the fundamentals. I'm saying I've been here before, and the greatest winners always come from the greatest adversity, even though it really hurts at the time, Kerry, because it hurts. But it's only temporary, because fear is temporary, greed is perpetual, and human stupidity is infinite.
I love it. I mentioned before that we're going to net zero, that governments are throwing a lot of money into some of these sectors. We've spoken in the past about gold, we've spoken silver, we've spoken uranium. I was talking to somebody recently that was at the BMO conference in Florida, who said, at one end of the bar, you had all the critical minerals execs that are whooping it up and having a great time, and at the other end of the bar were the gold guys going, oh, well, nobody loves us at the moment. This is how quickly, because that conference was only a couple of weeks ago, this is how quickly things can change. As you said at the start of this conversation, gold briefly tipped 3,000 Aussie and 2,000 US. Will that come again? I think with a lot of uncertainty, it potentially will. But what I want for our audience out there today, Tony, is take gold and silver out, because I look at those as money. Is it just about critical minerals? or is it more about the fundamentals like copper? In other words, what is Tony Locantro looking at the moment? Let's take the price of things out, but where do you think the demand will come in the future? Is it lithium? Is it hydrogen? Is it copper? Or is it all three?
I'm a copper fan. I think that's probably my favorite base metal, based on the fact we're going to need a lot of it, and it is getting harder to mine. I do look at that. I think the excitement around lithium and rare earths has peaked. I got that feeling a few weeks ago. So I saw this in .com. The only way a company is going to get attention is find a lithium project somewhere, and they get that run. And the good thing is, though, in every bubble, you do have some companies that make production, and there are some lithium companies that are in production. Same thing happened in the great uranium bubble of 2005, 2006, and some tech companies made it. So I'm focused on copper. I'm focused on quality management teams that can do something. Even I've got a lead stock, which is part of Maronan has lead as well.
Okay.
And lead's a very unattractive metal. We had a zinc stock in Italy that had a partial takeover, so we don't really have a pure zinc stock anymore. So what I look at is quality management, which companies they came from, who's trying to protect the share structure rather than jump on a fad. So I just think we're heading to, hopefully, once we get over this thumping, we're going to head to a small cap market where fundamentals finally count and not the ability to backdoor in a project. And that's exactly what's happened in the 24, 25 years I've been involved in this. So I'm a copper fan. We took gold and silver out. I just think that anyone that makes a decent base metals discovery is going to have a huge run. And some of the best discoveries in Australia have occurred in the shittiest markets. And that goes back to when Minotaur Gold drilled into a project called Uranus, and it was a prominent hill mine. So, yeah, they obviously had to change the name of that. But that's excitement, and we've had that through Sirius. 2012, Mark Bennett, rumour has it, down to his last 50 grand for the company.
Yep.
Drilled into a nickel province. We've had Galileo recently. Chalice, De Grey.
It's you just mentioned Chalice. One of the ones we've spoken about this in the past. Over in, I think it's Laverton, Hoover House, which is Rayleigh Finlayson. Have you heard anything about what's going on there with that sort of, bringing together all those areas like the Red Fives and the Kins and this Hoover House? I haven't heard much.
Yeah, I think it was something to do with St Barbara as well.
Yes,
and I think they're looking at the pricing, but. I mean, I look back, I put my clients in a real terrible stock called Atlantic Gold, which drifted here. Yeah, went to Canada, and then another fluke for my clients. They couldn't be bothered learning how to sell, and then they got taken out by St Barbara, who bought in Nova Scotia.
Yep.
But the sad part was, only a few weeks ago, they pretty much wrote the whole thing off. So... yeah, so that's my involvement there. St Barbara's been around forever. I actually remember exact times in my life where I've thought about St Barbara, and one of them was about 20 years ago when I was on a train. That's just, St Barbara's always there, but I don't know, Hoover House, it sounds like he's sucking up all the gold projects.
Yeah,
I know there's a deeper name to it, but...
yeah, it's because Herbert Hoover was over in Western Australia. Yeah. Former president of the United States. I think that's partly to do with it, but perhaps that's something that we can come back to our audience and talk about in the coming weeks. I sprung it on you today. In terms of gold, has that surprised you, Tony, the movement in the gold price? Because it literally, look, clearly it was on the back of the nervousness around the banks and the three banks in the US and now Credit Suisse having their being literally swallowed up by UBS. And I loved it. The head of Credit Suisse saying it's business as usual, just come to work. But don't forget that UBS are a competitor, so don't tell them anything. It's like this is like a clown show. Views, did you think the gold price would move as fast as it did, and do you think it's got further to go?
Very rare. Sometimes I'll check my investing.com app and I saw it up $70 and it was like, well, holy shit. And then I switch back to normally the Dow. It's probably unheard of, but in recent times, but when you've got banks under that pressure, the fear was a repeat of the GFC. And I make the mistake of going on Twitter sometimes and you're just drowning in negativity. And they're talking about recessions, depressions, 186 banks in the US under pressure.
Yep.
So that was a figure I read, but there's over 4,000 banks. And then there was rumors about Harry and Meghan, their money with Silicon Valley Bank.
I don't care.
I just thought it's good to see gold have a break to the upside. And look, I go back years ago when the gold price had moved on a car bombing in Afghanistan. The gold would actually move, or something, a hint of terrorism. Now it's all to do with a financial crisis. So I guess my view is that the money will have to flow somewhere. It might, obviously, bonds are going to be attractive. Now you have those with a lot of money looking to spread their money over multiple banks. And it's obviously due to $250,000, and you're going to have a lot of wealthy Australians that are going to do the same thing. And once you've got fear in the banking sector, I think that this could support much higher gold prices.
All right. Well, that could be positive further down the track. This year could be the year for gold. All right, Tony. What else is on your mind at the moment? Not years ago. Yeah, it would be about a year ago. You once talked quite a lot about BBOZ.
BBUS, yeah.
BBUS. Now, these are, I guess, opportunities. It's almost like insurance. You're shorting the market, aren't you?
Yeah, they've actually worked out fairly well. So for every 1% the S&P 500 falls, it returns between 2 and 2.75%. And the BBUS actually paid us $1.12 dividend. So recently the trading range has been $8.60, $8.70 up to over $10. But that reacts to the futures as well. But it's just such a weird market that normally when that performs, you'd expect small cap stocks to get belted, but the indices have held up and the small cap stocks have held their own tantrum. So yeah, it's been a little bit interesting, but the good thing for that instrument is that it always provides liquidity as well. But the risk now is, Kerry, is that there's so much bad news out there that where's the surprise going to come from?
Yeah. Do you think that that's already been factored into US and OZ?
I think that markets are due to go lower, and it could be just a normal functioning market where it needs a 5-10% plus correction. And earnings, you might have a decline in earnings, but that are just absolutely remarkable how well the major indices have held up. So, but we've been looking at that. I actually went to an Imugene lunch last Friday at Steve's in Netherlands. What a great venue. And I came away from that event thinking, wow. And it just makes you appreciate that what these scientists are doing with cancer. And Imugene became, it was a red hot stock, got to about $3 billion market cap. It's currently about 780 million. But what it allowed me to do, Kerry, was appreciate other cancer stocks other biotech stocks and saying, well, this is possible to replicate in the sector. So I learned so much. It was good to sit around like-minded investors. And of course, as soon as the event was over, there's postings all over social media. But what the benefit is to get out, have a lunch, talk to people, listen to management, because the disconnect between what's happening behind the scenes and the share price is so great. But small cap investors in Australia are just fixated on the price.
Yeah.
They just don't.
And, you know, that's a really good point, Tony, because Rick Rule said it. I went to Rick Rule's symposium over in Florida last year. I'll probably go again this year. And for those of you that want, I'll be sending something out about it. It's in July. But I learned so much from Rick. And one of the things he said was, in these times, investors are not patient. You know, if you're looking at a stock and you've spoken to management and it ticks your boxes, now you're not going to win them all, absolutely not. You're not buying BHP, but what he said was the lack of patience from people is quite astounding, and they want instant returns and instant gratification. It's like, you know, we have this, you know, the social media and the Twitters and the I want it and I want it now, and long gone are they wait for a week for your mail to come up and 2 weeks for your photos to be processed. Now it's an instant photograph, and Twitter is right there in front of you. So we're overrun with information, but we lack the patience to wait for good stocks to come good.
And it's certainly not going to assist with the returns. But I was telling clients that perhaps it's time to convert some of your stock to SRN. That means it's not on your CHESS holdings. You'll get a piece of paper with a holder number, put it in a friggin' time capsule and bury it for 3 years. That's probably the only way to mitigate what we're going through at the moment, because you can check your share prices every minute. You've got information. But if you go onto social media, it's going to make you feel sick because it's all negative. Anyone that puts anything positive up is shut down straight away. But there are ways to mitigate that, and that's to turn off social media, turn off reality TV, and take a walk outside, because life actually goes on. And I was just thinking recently that, geez, I wish I could set the DeLorean back to 1955, because this world's just too much at the moment. There's just anyway, but look,
too much noise, ladies and gentlemen, too much noise. Settle back.
Yeah.
And stop looking at the past and the future and be present. And as Eckhart Tolle always says, the power of being in the now. And you know what? At the end of the day, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Don't stop worrying so much. And look, there'll be people that will put comments down below saying, I have to worry, I've got to feed my... I get it. But get that mindset more positive. And Tony, good comment. For some of your stocks, not all of them, you know, maybe take it off the system where you can't see it and bury it in the backyard, or don't bury it in the backyard, put it somewhere safe. But take note of what you've got, but stop checking it every day or every week or even every month. Things are going to change, but they're not going to change tomorrow. Tony, final words to you.
Well, this grinding bear market in small cap wasteland is going to come to an end. I'm sick of it. Let's just have a traditional gold and silver bubble, and may the best traders and investors win. And I look forward to the next exotic metal ending in IUM, or let's just have a kryptonite bubble. I don't know. But yeah, it's you know, whilst it sucks to be me at the moment, I'll keep fighting, Kerry. I stick to the same script. We're going to have 5, 10, 20 baggers. We're going to get hit, bashed around, and that's small cap life. You just can't have the upside exposure without getting beaten up. And yeah, it's just things will improve. And everyone says, well, the indices are too high. What if they drop? Everything's going to go to zero. Well, they won't go to zero. Enough's enough. You either believe that markets and companies will recover, or we're all going to die. So make your choice. Make your choice.
I think both of those are true. And I'm just going to do one last shout out. This week, I'm going to be up at Phil Dickinson's Brisbane Mining Conference at Royal on the Park. And if any of you are watching and you will be there at the conference, it actually starts tomorrow. It's I think this is going up tomorrow. So it starts today. And so that's what's the date today? 21st, is it?
Yeah, so it'll be the 22nd.
22nd and 23rd of March at Royal on the Park. I'll be there. If you're watching this and you're going to be there as well, make sure you come up, tap me on the shoulder and say good day. Tony Locantro, Alto Capital, great to see you. We'll see you again in a few weeks.
Yep, can't wait.
Cheers,
Thanks,
mate.
Kerry.